Thank you guys for coming to class number 5 on camping and going to events. Lord Sean Tabor is going to give us some instructions on this and turning it over to you.
Hello. Let me go ahead and do a share screen here. I guess I'll do this. So thank you so much for coming out tonight to the Steps Newcomers for November 2020. We are happy to have you here, and I'm looking forward to sharing some stuff about going out in the SCA and starting to explore and see where you can fit in and what fun you can have with the SCA. We're going to share a screen next. So this class is eventing from the ground up. Basically, how you can work on getting logistics set up so that you're supported, you can concentrate on having a good time, and you don't have to worry about, things biting you or other things happening during your experience. We want to make sure that you're comfortable in coming out and enjoying the SCA and living history. So the first steps are coming out to your local events. That can be things like you want to make sure you have note-taking materials like your iPad, even just a paper and pencil, phone, to get pics and contact information, because you're going to be running into a whole bunch of people, and I don't know about you, but I will never remember everybody's name, mundane or SCA. So it's just easier for me to either get a quick contact or to put it in my phone while I've got them there. You can go out to populous meetings or business meetings. They're usually held at a restaurant, so most of your logistics are taken care of for you. When you go out to fighter practice, that's mostly going to be held in a park. So you want to take things with you to keep hydration going. And this is Texas, so we always appreciate shade. You also don't know if it's going to be too cold, too hot, things like that. Arts and Sciences Night are usually held at someone's house. And what you're doing there is usually calligraphy. You might be doing heraldry. You might be doing several different other things, making clothes, doing armor, but they're usually at someone's home that has all the materials collected for you to do the activity. When you're doing a guild like Brewing Guild, Armor Guild, all that, again, that's usually done at someone's home so that they have the materials so that you can see them working and learn from them and ask your questions so you can get your art or science one advanced more step and get that out ready to wear on the field or at court. You'll have lots of opportunity to go to make and take workshops where you show up, and we're going to be making a gorget tonight, which is a form of neck protection, which will allow you to get on the field for both heavy or light weapons. We might also be making hand protection. You might also be making clothing, because everybody needs a tabard. A tabard covers a multitude of sins. Make sure that you have drinks and snacks as needed. At the restaurant, you don't have to worry about it. But especially if you're going to be at someone's home, it's always nice to bring things along with you so you don't have to wonder if they're going to be there or not. You want to have some personal comfort items. A basket or container is kind of a must. You don't know how large the project you're going to be working on is going to get. So it's always nice to have any working materials that you're going to bring to the house already gathered together. When you take them to the home, you've got everything covered. They'll also have the tools necessary sometimes that you may not want to spend right now. If you're only going to be making one set of armor, you might not want to have the whole drill press and the riveting station and all that goes with it. So that's a good idea to help somebody out, is you have the tools, you bring them in, and you show them what's going on. You also want to have hankies. They work for a multitude of things, especially when you're outside. A personal fan and a flannel wrap will take care of pretty much covering your hot and your cold. And depending on where you are in the SCA, it can get either at any moment. In Texas, the old joke is, if you don't like the weather, just wait a minute, it'll come. Try it all, basically. See what you like, because you won't know if you like it until you try it and you find out. So if you want to day trip indoor events, there's a few things that you want to keep with you. These would be things like 12th Night or Kingdom Arts and Sciences, things like that, where they're held at a venue, usually at a church or somewhere else where it's fairly large and the rent's fairly cheap. You want to have garbs. Again, tabards will cover a multitude of sins. That's a single piece of cloth, usually in the front and the back, joined at the shoulders, and you can belt it, and that way you can cover up any mundanities and look more like you belong at the event. If you don't have anything at all and you don't know what to wear at all, check with the hospitaller. They are the officer in the barony assigned to helping people dress right, and they have a lot of loaner garb that we can help you get dressed in until you can find out what you want as your own. It's terrible to get in and decide that you want to be an Elizabethan with all this beautiful garb work, and what you really end up being is a 12th century Viking. So you want to kind of work on how that works for you first. And we got Val coming in. You also want to know if there's tables or chairs. In an indoor event, there's usually going to be tables and chairs, so you don't have to worry about bringing them, but you always want to ask. Sometimes they might need to have table decorations or things like that to make your space a little bit more livable and a little bit more medieval. You want to have table decorations. You might have a candelabrum. You might have other things that you want. You want to put these in some type of a container, usually a box or a basket, where you're able to gather everything together. And that way, you know, if you have that box or basket, you have everything you need to set up a proper table. You want to bring along feast gear. Typically in an SCA event, we're not going to have plates and cups and stuff like that for you. We will be providing the food, usually served out in platters, and you will be needing to provide your own place settings at your table. That can include coolers and covers. Usually it's nicer if you cover your cooler when you go to an event. It just helps make things a little bit more upscale rather than let's have a beer at the back of the pickup. Food and beverages. You don't know if alcohol is allowed on site. Normally the sites are listed as wet or dry. If the site is wet or covertly wet, it's typically appreciated if you put your drink in a period container so you don't have to worry or make things look a little bit more medieval as you drink, which I can hardly recommend. You also want to bring your own plates and mugs, bowls, and utensils. And a great place to find these would be Goodwill. When you go to Goodwill, if you look in the section where they've got the pressed wooden bowls for salads, those make great SCA bowls, both for stews, salads, and other things that have a little bit more sauce to them. Typically, you can find either a wooden plate or a plate that looks like it might be pewter, things like that. But Goodwill is an awesome place to go look for that. Also, eBay would be a good idea to check too. The first question that comes is when you're at an indoor day tripping event, are you going to clean up your stuff there, or are you going to put it back in your box? No one likes to put dirty dishes back in your box. So what you want to do is take those 2-gallon Ziploc bags with you, and that way at the end of the feast, you can scrape the most of it off into the trash, but put your plates, your cups, everything else into the gallon bags, and save them when you get home, run them through the dishwasher, and be ready for the next feast. For entertainment, you're going to have lots of choices. You've got arts and sciences displays. You'll have period games that you can do. You can have music. Typically at an SCA event, especially 12th night, we're going to have live music and live SCA dancing. So it's a wonderful time to get out and be able to learn some of the moves that we're going to be using in our dances. Also, if you enjoy playing an instrument, the musicians are always willing to talk to you and ready to help. You want to have largesse. We are trying to emulate the nobles with this, so bring something like chocolate coins or anything that you can give out to somebody who might come by your table. A make and take project is pretty easy, and I'm going to be including this in our online resources, but this is a video for this feast set, and they go unpack it for you, showing you how they pack it in the bowl or in the basket, and also they go through all the different accoutrements that you need: bowl, plate, utensils, cups, everything. Daytripping Outdoors is going to be all of the ones for the indoors, but you want to take your own shade and awning. This is Texas after all. It gets real hot real quick. I want to take your own tables and chairs. Even if you're going to some place like a park, you may not be able to have your own chairs or setups, and it's just easier if you take your own. Gloves and sunscreen, this again being Texas, you really want to have the sunscreen. Towelettes to clean up. You don't know what the porta potty situation is, and if you've been to some of the park bathrooms, let me just say towelettes are a great alternative. Bug spray is a must here in Texas, and normally it's good to have a first aid kit either in your car or with you so you can take care of little boo-boos as they happen. Water or the SCA pickle juice, because when we are in heat, The electrolytes and the pickle juice really help keep you going. And a folding wagon, because by the time you get all of this stuff out of your car, you don't want to be trudging 3 miles with it. Having a folding wagon means that it's going to be easier for you to transport it, and at the end of the event, get everything back to your car. I would love to have shown you a beautiful handmade cooler cover. The fabric behind me is in fact the cooler cover. Notice it is not square. So I instead have these lovely suggestions for you to begin looking at cooler covers. One thing is the Mylar bubble wrap that they have is a great insulator for your cooler. And since you're going to be out in Texas sun, it's nice to have that bubble wrap to insulate it. However, it does not look period at all. If you, however, make a fabric cover for your cooler, it looks a lot more period. It blends well with your camp and with your attempt at medieval history here. And if you take the Mylar and put it along the inside in a pocket of the fabric, it sure makes it look a lot nicer, and it will keep your cooler cooler longer. Now, if you get really carried away, over here is what most people in the SCA would say, wow, that's period, because somebody took it way too much, and it's a beautiful piece. I would love to have this at my camp. Maybe I'll build this someday, but for right now, the fabric is what's going to happen. Children at events. Children happen. That's what we're all adults about. And you might be wondering what this little symbol is over in the side. Well, the symbol is actually the symbol for the Children's Guild, because the Ministry of Children goes around and helps corral the children. It helps them bring them into the medieval way of life. The Queen actually has high tea with the children when they're at a large event and the crown is there. Versus, who is this random person that I've just given my child to? Usually, infants through age 5 need extra care to keep them warm, to keep them cool, to keep them sunscreened, and it's easier to just do that when they're with you. If you let them wander off, they can get into trouble a lot quicker and easier, so it's best if you keep the smaller children within arm's reach. Usually when the children reach between 5 to 10 years of age, that's when they become a lot more fun, but they become fun in a group. So you see a lot of children walking around with 4 or 5 of their buddies, and they go from camp to camp, and they're looking for peanut butter sandwiches, and they're looking for different things to drink and that sort of stuff. So that's why we call them camp locusts. In order to make this a little bit more enjoyable for the adults in life, if you want to bring the coolers, you want to have a kid cooler that they can feel free to go into and offer their friends things. And you want to have a mom and dad cooler, and that'll keep a lot of family stress and drama from occurring. Now we get into the kids fighting, which is a lot more fun. And what we try and do is to introduce the children early. We're using boffer weapons, which are like PVC pipe covered with foam and duct tape to make it a little bit softer. The children go through their children are armored properly, and they go through a training regimen along with having warranted marshals next to them. So you're making sure at all stages that the kids are safe and can have fun. When the child turns 10, pages are an awesome thing. You can have a page, give your child to a lovely, noble family over here. They will proclaim how well your child behaves. They will show them how they can help, carry the coolers, carry the things for them. And you will come back to a child that you're going, who is this kid? My kid never does this for me. What's going on? So what we need to do is get more kids out for pages. When they turn 14, they can begin rapier combat. And when they turn 16, they can be chivalric combat, as long as you have your parent nearby and with parents' permission. This is a symbol for the Ministry of Children's Youth Combat. It has 2 swords crossed, and at 18, you can become a full participant in either the chivalric or the rapier fighting. Separate checklists are also needed for smaller children, because you want to make sure that you have the medications, personal items like their favorite, stuffed animal, their cup, their pouch, their hat, everything kind of goes together in one, and you take that with you. You also want to have extra changes because it can get too hot, it can get too cold, and there's always accidents that happen. As long as you have the extra changes, you don't have to leave the campsite to go find the correction for it. You've got it there, it's all taken care of. You can bring appropriate non-electronic toys. Jump ropes have been around forever. Balls, different other things that you can have them do. Typically, we'll have people there that actually have things for coloring books in medieval wise, and the kids love going and doing it together. For the younger ones, you want to do shade with the playpens. Playpens are nice to have. It keeps the child more safe from wandering off. And if you're dressed in heavy armor and you're walking around, you may not see a smaller child. So it keeps the younger ones kind of corralled so we don't trip on them, which is nice. Now, when you're talking about going overnight, that's going for Steps Warlord. It's a multi-day event. Braggart's War is a multi-day event over a weekend. You're going to need a lot of things. This little thing over here is really useful. And quick question, is everybody seeing the little tape on the right, or is the video covering it up? You're seeing it? Okay, good. So this tape is glow-in-the-dark tape. One of the things you don't realize when people come from the town is it gets dark at night. And let me tell you, if you're trying to find a black flashlight in a dark tent in the middle of the night to go to the porta potty, it's a problem. So if you wrap a little bit of the glow tape around it, it's a much happier occurrence. All of the previous things can be brought forward to this. Your facilities are usually bathroom, porta potties. You might want to bring your own toilet paper because you never know when it's going to run out. Put glow tape on the flashlight or any other items that you want to be able to find in the dark, because a lot of times you won't know where that dark thing is in your dark tent at dark 30. And you want to have, sometimes you have hot showers, but it also depends on how many people are there as to how hot the shower is at the time. The water may be not portable or not. You want to make sure you don't drink the opposite. Bring hand sanitizer because you don't know the situation on the water. And your trash may need to be packed out. So find out ahead of time so that you can have trash bags with you. And just like with your feast gear, you might need to pack that out. Shelter, you can do just a simple tent, but measure your tent with all the ropes and everything else, because if you have a land marshal at the event, you can then tell them, hey, I'm camping with steps. I need 15 feet by 25 feet so I can put my Taj Mahal pavilion here. And the land marshal will help rope that out so everybody has space and there's no question with fire lanes or anything else. You need your tent stakes and ground cloth. We have castus and mesquite thorns, and they will poke through anything here in Texas. So it's best if you have a nice thick ground pad so you can prevent that from coming up in your air mattress at dark 30. Ask me how I know. So camp furniture. You need a seating, you need a flat surface to set stuff on, and you need a bin for storage. Lighting is always appreciated. There's many different ways to do battery-powered Christmas lights and things like that. If you've got a bed that you can raise up, it's nice because you can put your storage pans under it, and then it covers with the coverlet, and you don't have to worry about dressing up your storage containers. Also, a fan and a heater are kind of nice depending on, again, Texas weather is very changeable. Hang-ups, such as a garb box, are very useful because if you've just had your beautiful Elizabethan that you finished, you don't want to leave it lying about the bottom of your tent. It's much better to show it off if it's not in a little wrinkled, crumpled up ball. So show off those costumes, hang them up if you can in your tent. And there's many ways I'll show you here in a minute. Chamber pots are another thing. If it is thunderstorming in the middle of the night, which in Texas it does, the question is, are you prepared to go running for the porta potties in the middle of the night, or would you rather have a cat box in your tent that you can take place of? Especially a lot of us that may have mobility issues, it's a very good thing that you don't have to go running in the middle of the dark and smash your knee into something if you can just use it in your tent, put a little kitty litter over the top, and you can easily make these things out of 5-gallon pails. Taking a cloak, shawl, jacket, you want to have medications. Hankies are universally to be used for tons of different things. Extra pins for pinning up costumes, changing the look of it. A sewing kit because it's horrible if one little piece of a costume is preventing you from enjoying it and showing it off the way it should be. You might need wet weather gear. Again, it's Texas. We've had thunderstorms pretty continually at various events. So having your wellies with you, having a rain poncho with you is a good idea. You might not want some nightwear. Not that we'd want to see you nakedly walking or running towards the porta potties in the middle of the night, but it's nice if you have a sleepwear that you can be comfortable in, that you can do a short porta potty run. In that vein, you still want the slip-on shoes. You want to have your own towel in case there might be a shower, or you can set up a shower there at your camp using a 5-gallon pail and some other things. Toiletries, and usually is good to have it in a single case where you can make sure you grab it and you've got everything you need, whether that's contact lens solution, your medications, everything else, your shampoo. Usually it fits in one bag. Shower supplies, and again, if you need to, baby wipes are a reasonable substitute. Sustenance. It is always best if you can have enough sustenance, because you do want to make sure that you're able to continue doing what you want to do in Texas without being dehydrated. So you want to have your cooler with beverages and snacks. Coffee is an iffy thing. Some merchants can have coffee, but you never know the quality of the coffee they have. So it's always nice to have a French press at your camp that you can do that. So we usually have a portable personal water supply. You want your utensils. You want your prep tools like a cutting board, a knife, a water bucket, a way to boil water, and a French press. Takes care of my wife in the morning, and it makes me a much happier person throughout the day. You want to make sure that you have things that you can use whenever you're going to get cleaned up. You don't know if you're going to wash there or take home, and especially in a multi-day event, you might need to have things that you can use to wash up. You want to have your dish soap, your towel, trash bags, and the container to put it all in at the end of the event so you don't have to take dirty stuff back. SCA Courtesy. When in doubt, always refer to people as my lord, my lady. They will not get shirty with you. And if they are their excellencies, as your excellency is here, then they will certainly allow you to know that in a polite manner. Be respectful to others. That's the basic rule. Be sensitive to others' bedtimes. I know that you've just got that drum, but you really don't need to keep drumming at 3 o'clock in the morning. Most people are very open and giving and welcoming. However, don't walk through camps. Stick to the roads. One, if you're at night and it's dark, it's amazing how people find tent pegs in the dark. So again, if you have that glow tape, put a little around your tent pegs. It may not help, but it doesn't hurt. Don't pick up anything without asking. You don't know the significance of somebody's thing, and it's easier to ask than to be embarrassed. Ask before you sit. We've had occasions where somebody thought a musical instrument, in this case a drum, was a chair. That was not the case. And when the person sat on it, the drum then collapsed. That is not a happy thing for a musician. The person involved was very, very upset. And her husband happens to be the Kingdom Night Marshal. So yeah, don't do that. Some people have enchanted ground. And what that is where they prefer to have only period conversation and period music or art performances. You don't want to walk in the middle of there holding a beer going, yo, what's up? So just be polite. Don't go inside tents without express permission. Don't need to necessarily say this, but it's happened, so if I can save you the embarrassment, I will. If you're uncomfortable with anything or anything happening to you or been said to you, walk away, talk to your local seneschal or the event steward, and they will help take care of it for you. And especially if you're a young lady and you're attempting to find things in the dark or go back to your car, you can ask the Fools Guild, and they will be happy to walk you back to your camp, your car, or wherever you need to be. SCA camping. In the beginning, we have all had the dome tent. The earth pimple is universal. Then every now and again, you get sick of not being able to put on your clothes when standing up. At that point, you graduate. You get a 10 by 10 tent. You think, now I'm really living it. Living the dream, you attempt to disguise your tent or make it more medieval-ish. However, every now and again, when you've been in SCA, you've had yourself hit in the head with a stick a few more times than you should, then you want just to be a little more period. When you get to this level, you're obsessive and you're in for life. That's just what it is. Your local group has advantages if you go with them. They've usually staked out a camping spot wherever you're going to be going. Other people have forgotten things or remember things that you may have forgotten, like a corkscrew. They're going to know what's available on site and in the surrounding area. If your car is broken down getting to the event, or you need help to get from the event, a lot of times they can help. And it's easy for a whole group to each one take one thing for you, so you have less to pack out than it is for you to have to do it all yourself. Finding your way around an event can be pretty challenging. There's A&S competitions, there's different fighting, both heavy and light. There's all sorts of other stuff going on that you may be interested in, but you don't know what's going on because it's all happening at the same time. Being with a group allows you to kind of use their experience to help you set up for success as you live the medieval life. So, first recommendation. Interesting? Ah, yes. Don't know why that's there. So, recommendations: do not burn live candles in your tent. That causes a tent fire. It upsets the people camping next to you. Do not burn tent. You can use LED candles, and they're awesome because you can actually set up, most of them have timers now. So if you set them up to come on at the same time, every night when you come back to your tent, ta-da, you have tent elves lighting your way. Put everything out that you need for an activity, whether it's feast, shelter, sleeping, medications, you name it, and inventory it. Then put it into a container with the inventory on the lid. That way, whenever you've checked through the box, you know that you've got everything you need as long as you've gone through it. That also gives you a way to go, oh, I need to put in some more batteries. Oh, I need to do this one thing that broke last time. Boxes are a good way to make sure everything you need is in one area. They also make the handy flat surfaces that you'll need around the camp. If you put a cool, fabric cover on them, then they look really good in your camp. It's okay to have duplicates in the boxes. I'd rather have 2 lights than no lights, or no corkscrews. Yes, I'm obsessed with corkscrews. I have a wife, she has wine, she has needs. Check for consumables to make sure you've got them before you leave. You don't want to go out there and be the only one without the lighter or the battery. This is a good one that my wife and I have discovered over a long time. Whenever it's towards the end of the event and you're helping clean up the event, because you are helping to put things away and clean up the event, are you? Yes, nod. Okay, you want to have escape clothes. That last shower before you leave is a very wonderful thing. So put your escape clothes in the car, put them in your driver's seat, your passenger seat. That way you make sure you've got a clean set of clothes to drive out with. The other thing we've learned because of low blood sugar is that creates divorces, and we don't want divorces. So we usually stop and eat before going home, and I would pass on that advice to you. A make-and-take project for this would be something like putting together a list of inventory sheets for shelter, sleeping, guard, feast, shower, all this other stuff, making sure you've got it all in one little area, and then taping it and putting it in one of those plastic pockets, and then tape it to the inside of the lid of the box, so you always have it. So now we're up to 3 to 4 days or weekends. Do everything that you've just done for the weekend thing, but maybe expand it a little bit. This would be where you've got steps where it's a little bit more expanded than just the weekend. It's got 2 or 3 more days on either side. Same thing that you're going to do, but make sure you can get more ice as you need to. Consider foods that don't need refrigeration. Fruit, veggies, cheeses, meats, dried. Sometimes merchants are going to have a meal plan and you won't have to worry about it. But until you've gone to a few events, you won't know what to do on that. Don't forget to hydrate. It is Texas after all. So this is a list of various little things that you can put in that are easy to prepare and don't require refrigeration. The more time you're going to spend in camps, the more you're going to find that, wow, that's so cool. I really need one of those. And you want to add additional items to make your camp more medieval, to make it more convenient. But just be aware that while it's so cool, the simplest solution that you come up with now may be having to lug all this heavy stuff around later. But it's really nice, like the period pavilion we saw earlier. So you might need a garb box. This is a lovely garb box that you can make. It folds down into something like you put at the foot of your bed. When it unfolds, it lets you hang all your lovely costuming so it doesn't get wrinkled. It keeps all of your various accoutrements and accessories together, so you don't have to worry where you put down that brooch that, Queen so-and-so gave you a while back, and if you don't wear it, she's going to notice. You can also rig up things like this hand wash station, a really nice piece of kit that's nice to have, but again, at the end of the day, it depends on how much you have space in your vehicle as to what you're going to take. And then if you've gone over the top, you can have a 4-course chef kitchen that you can take with you. So glamping. This is your SCA square tent that somebody has put fabric on the walls instead of staying with the regular walls. They've done a lovely little fringe here. They've got SCA period chairs, a lovely little wooden box that they will use for flat surface. Their tables that probably are plain and folding are covered with a good cover, and they have period chairs surrounding them. Also, it's very, very nice to have a ground cover. Having a ground cover, for some reason, humans are just programmed to have it. I've had at events where I've had a large pavilion with nothing under it, and I've had a pavilion with a ground cover in, and everybody starts to congregate towards the ground cover. I don't know why, but that does happen. So period pavilions, they are beautiful. This has taken time, effort, research. The period piece over the fire pit, it's gorgeous. A little higher up, again, beautiful costuming, beautiful period, even has the lighting for at night so people don't trip over things. No one expects you to have one. This is what you're going to see. So when you have a typical SCA event, you have the people that have the dagged out nice square tents. You have the people that have the pavilion with roll-up sides. You have the people that are trying to do the army tent. And you got the folks that are just trying. So nobody expects you to come out and have these beautiful period pavilions. But come out, have fun, and if you decide to go off the deep end, we're going to be there to go, wow. War. War is different because you're going to have a longer time. You have Gulf War coming up in Louisiana, Estrella War kind of off over in the New Mexico, Arizona area, and Penzic over in Pennsylvania. These are large, large events. You're going to need restocking runs to wherever you need. Now, a lot of times, if it's a large event like Penzic, the merchants will take care of having ice, having everything else on time. You can even have the meal plans to allow you to continue just to enjoy yourself and not have to worry so much about how you're going to feed or where you're going to clean up and all that other stuff. Coordinate your food and other runs with others, because it's a whole lot nicer to be able to be at an event, relaxing for the whole weekend instead of having to go to the store, come back, go to the store and come back. Especially if you can coordinate with that somebody else, at least one day they can go and you can stay at the event. Bigger merchants, it means that you've got everything under the sun. You can start off at one end of an event, and if your credit card allows you, by the other event, you have everything you need to be medieval. You can go and get your garb. You can get your armor. You can get furniture to sit on. You can get a period pavilion tent. You can get anything. Is there a Walmart or Target on the way in? Because there's always going to be that last minute thing that, I remembered it after I was 50 miles towards the event and 150 miles back to where I came from. Where's the nearest mechanic? Again, I have driven that car. It's either going to get to the event or from the event, but you don't know which. So just make sure you have an idea of where that around is going to be. Is ice going to be available? Are trash services, toilets, showers? These are things that should be available, or to somebody who's been to the event before can give you the lowdown on. But if you just ask any of your people in your local barony, they can give you the lowdown on what's going on. Have a cash budget, because it is all so pretty. You really will want one of everything when you first get there. Have a cash budget so at the end of the event, you don't have a financial emergency that you didn't realize you were getting into. Take breaks. All of this can be overwhelming, especially on a war. You want to be able to just chill out, step back, enjoy the experience. Don't force yourself to be, a world traveler all at once. Just enjoy your little neck of the woods. And this is a lovely little video that they came up with. When we're talking about, stop that. And our lovely Zini from here is in it. So this is the Gulf War. I encourage you, when I put these up, to go through the video links. They allow you to go through and see what we need, what you might need as far as what's at the war or what you see people walking around with. There's some talking to some folks that have been doing a lot of arts and sciences. They've set up their own metalsmithing and other things here. So all the links that are involved in the PowerPoint can go to where you're able to check them out, see what you think. And now we'll go ahead and bring up the comments here. Let me go ahead and stop share. Good. And chat. All right. So let's go through the first. I'm going to make sure if everyone would like to unmute. And we'll go through the comment section here from Megan. Oops, let's get up here. If there's going to be seating available, if we need our own chairs for medical comfort reasons, is there a protocol for making sure it'll be okay at the venue? Mostly chairs are space free. They take up very little space. And so unless you're going to bring out like, you know, stadium seating, I don't believe that chairs have been an issue. Has anyone else see that at an event?
I was thinking more like in one of the indoor events. I didn't know if they, I'd read somewhere that sometimes those are more crowded sometimes for like bringing in a camp chair.
Elaine?
It really depends on the space of the event. At some events, the space is very small. And so you could bring chairs, it would just take up a lot of room. But at the majority of the places where we hold events, you can bring chairs indoors. It's not a problem at all. Most of the time, if there's seating available, you will know beforehand, before you have to go into the room wherever they're doing court or whatever it is inside, and then you don't have to bring in your chair. But a lot of the times nowadays, they have indoor seating. And then whenever it's on the outside, they generally, you bring your own stuff.
And I'd also like to open up the floor. Does anyone have any comments on when we went through, anything you'd like to add from your own experiences camping?
It's really important to put a tarp underneath your tent because sometimes sometimes it's prone to rain and things like that, and it helps keep the water out. And it keeps and there's you want to clear the bottom of your tent, like the ground, from any sticks or anything. Camping is kind of what you make it in the SCA. As Sean showed, there's a lot of different types of people that camp at different levels. I know some people don't like the Texas heat, so they'll bring a portable air conditioner unit, and they'll have that, to keep, themselves cool. So I know that we have a lot of focus on keeping things period and stuff, but a lot of folks just end up covering the things that aren't period just to be a little bit more comfortable, and that's okay too.
All right. Since we're kind of at the end of our thing, I will say thank you all for very much. I will stop the recording now, and we'll have a chance to answer any more questions.
Oh, gee.
Oh, that's Aaron. Sorry.
Sean?